How's everybody doing? Welcome to my channel. This is You Too Can Be Great. This is the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 14, episode 9 review. Midnight in the Château of God, Good and Evil, or we can call it the Nude interlude, okay? Whichever one you want to go with, go ahead and call it that. Now, I was going to do this review last night, but I ended up being tired. I did P-Valley, and I also did Married to Medicine. Go ahead and check it out, and I will be doing Basketball Wives tonight as well. So let's get into it. So this episode was very interesting, very entertaining, and I enjoyed every bit of it, all the shade, all the drinking, because y'all know if you have a bunch of girls in the room with some alcohol, things get interesting, okay? So we start off with Sharee going to her daughter's podcast, Kiss and Tell. And I learned what the landslide sex position is from that podcast. I didn't even know there was a sex position called landslide, but apparently there is. And she explained it as the woman being on her stomach and the guy kind of being on his knees behind her, almost like doggy style, but kind of not at the same time, while they were having this podcast. And she's listening to her daughter tell this, all these extra positions that she's not wanting to know, because I'm her mom. I want to know what she does behind closed doors. But they bring up Tyrone from something that she reads up online. Sharee's bitter. She's a hurt. Tyrone made her look like a fool. That's a fact. She was left alone in front of a restaurant. That's a fact. On national television, because Bravo is a well-known network. That's also a fact. And so they bring him up, and she said that she feels like he scammed her like the people he scammed when he was stealing from him before he went to prison. So now that Sharee's no longer with him, she's now throwing digs at him because she feels hurt and offended by his behavior. At the same time, I said it before, Sharee investing years in somebody behind bars when you know that they're just using you for talk time. When you're behind bars, you can't go out in public, you can't be with anybody, you can't really go out and see society. You keep going because of the tether that you have of the outside world. Sharee was Tyrone's tether when she was out in the outside world. She was the good thing that kept him going while he was behind bars. You know, when you get little pen pals and stuff like that, that's who she was. And unfortunately, I believe that she also sent him money to get his stuff so they don't have to, you know, get a visit from the booty bandit. So he had to get money from somebody, and Sharee was it. And he picked a woman that was well known on television, and she had the finances and the funds to be able to support his life. And that was what she was to him. Do I think that Tyrone is going to all of a sudden come and be in a relationship with Sharee? I don't think so. He's not moving that way. But we get to see him later on in the season, so we get to hear his side of the story. But we see Marlo and her nephews, Michael and William, and it's basically a situation to where since they had the phone call with Marlo's sister, the one that was having like a mental health issue, she's breaking down, she doesn't want to get the help she needs, they flashback to that scene where Marlo had called her, and as soon as she heard Marlo's voice, she was cussing out, she was going crazy, she lost all her mind. Her children were able to witness that mother in that atmosphere, which I don't think was wise. I do not think that Marlo should have made that phone call with those kids there. But Marlo's behavior is like somebody who's never had children before. Because if you've had children before, you know there's certain things that you have to protect them from. Just tell them, hey, your mom is behind bars. She needs time. She needs to heal. You don't actually have them get on the phone with her when you know she's not okay. Because now the kids are now aware to the extent of how bad their mom is. Now they're acting out in other ways. They don't want to talk to a therapist. They don't even know what it is the root of the problem. We know because we're watching it. They're acting out in school. Michael's running his mouth to the teacher. William is punching walls. There's hole in walls. They're basically behaving like people who are lashing out. And Marlo is not used to this because she didn't raise children from the beginning. She's just raising them for the past 3 years, and she doesn't know if she even has enough patience to tolerate this behavior. But I'm going to talk about that more later on when the next scenes I'm going to talk about. So we get into it. We keep going. Sonya goes to visit Kenya at her house. While she's there, Candy calls and they talk about T.I.'s son, who the 25-year-old that hopped the fence and went over to Candy's house. I think it was last episode, the week before episodes, before 4th of July weekend, when he said that he's T.I.'s son and that he's Beyonce's cousin, and that Candy invited him over to his house so they can make music together. So I said, well, Candy, tell him about T.I.'s son. They came over to your house and tried to break in and try to get in, a 25-year-old young boy. Maybe he's just trying to look for an opportunity, but he shouldn't have been hopping people's houses. I mean, come on, that's just breaking and entering. She's not going to want to help you at that point. But Candy lets him know this is what happened. They discussed it. They said that, you know, the police is going to be alerted if he ever does that again, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, they kind of catch up on that. Kenya then brings up Drop It with Drew with Sonya, and they're discussing Marlo's behavior. And Kenya makes it very clear that Marlo and her has never been friends. They've been up and down throughout the years. Marlo has said some really gutter things to Kenya in anger. I will repeat it when the scene comes because I'm going to get to it in that point. And At this point, Kenya has been reaching out, and every time that she reaches out to Marlo, like I said, hurt people hurt people. Marlo currently is going through a lot in her life, and she's lashing out, trying to hurt whoever she can. And Kenya has been the one that she's been targeting all season. She got the peach. She needs to resend that offer because she's not ready to handle the peach. So Kenya is now saying at this point, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I'm not crazy. I'm not going to be doing that. I've seen her. We're never going to be friends. She keeps taking a dig at me. She keeps trying to ruin the relationship I have. She keeps planting all these seeds. I'm just done with her. And so Sanya took that information, take that bone, and holds on to it. Hey, y'all, to get a taste of this delicious meal, go ahead and check out my OnlyFans page for recipes in the description box below. You find the link. Yes. Then we get to Sheree's house in the Château. She is visited by the other female, Fatoum from Djibouti, the girl. When Drew in previous episodes were discussing what Anthony, her assistant, was going around town, talking about Sharee, talking about her, saying Ralph might be gay. Fatoum was in that table meeting, and she, in her defense of Sharee, inserted herself in a conversation that had nothing to do with her. And then she brought up Ralph. And so Fatoum and Drew already have beef from that conversation, but Fatoum and Sharee are friends. So Fatoum goes over to Sheree's house to check on her, and they bring up Tyrone, and Sharee just breaks down again. She's heartbroken. No matter how hard she tries, no matter how much digs she gives, in all honesty, Sharee went into this relationship that was over the phone with all her heart. You know, she went into she had phone. The man lived in her phone, probably FaceTime her. They probably had a lot of phone sex. They probably did everything they could to keep that spice going. He probably wrote her very nice words, probably had somebody in the pen draw her a nice picture, a portrait of her. He did everything he could to win her heart. And even though they didn't physically touch each other, her heart was in because words is what made her fall in love, which I think is the most juvenile mistake a person can make. Y'all know in high school when your parents tell you, this boy's gonna tell you he loves you just to get into your pants. Don't believe what he says, believe what you see him doing. But because he was behind bars, he had guards blocking him. He couldn't really do anything crazy. So Sharee ideally fell in love with his words and not his deeds. And it sucks because Sharee is out here looking for love, but something about her keeps finding it in all the wrong places. I don't know why, but maybe we can figure it out later on as we get to know her and, you know, if she lets us know more about her. But here she is breaking down because she feels like she was bamboozled by this man. Then she really put her heart into it, and now she's dealing with the heartbreak, and not just the heartbreak, the public humiliation of the whole thing, because she announced him on national television. She should have kept him quiet until she realized what was going on. I didn't think she should have brought it on the show, but she did and took a risk, and yet the risk backfired in her face. So she's breaking down, and Fatoum is, you know, comforting her, and she's trying to make an effort to try and seem stronger than she is. And I applaud her for it, but girl, we know you're breaking. Then we have Drew and her mommy finally go to get their nails done. All I'm thinking is, Drew, you should have brought your mom to the Jamaican soiree, because then if you had to deal with Sonya's mom, at least your mom was there to defend you. But while they're having this conversation, she lets her mom know that Ralph has a book deal that he got from the previous assistant that was trying to, I guess, be a homewrecker in her relationship. But he's doing a book deal basically explaining to people the difficulties and the trials and tribulations of being a step parent. And he's doing that. And so he's feeling like that's going to help other dads who are in the same situation. Now, to me, that's admirable for Ralph to be a step parent to Josiah. What struck me the wrong way is Drew's comprehension. Drew fixed her lips and said that she doesn't understand why Ralph doesn't adopt Josiah. Josiah's the only dad he's ever known. And the mom's like, yeah, he should just adopt him. You guys should bring it up in therapy. I said, do you understand what you're asking, Drew? If anything, you shouldn't be the one bringing it up. He should be the one bringing it up. And then worst case scenario, Josiah is the one who's asking for Ralph to adopt him. Because what you're saying is you made a baby with another person. Then you met Ralph. Now, because Ralph is showing love and is basically being a parent to Josiah, you are now trying to force him or bully him into taking up the mantle of another child. What happens if y'all break up? He has now legally adopted a child that he did not make, that's not biologically his, and then adopting him makes him financially responsible for him for life, or at least until he's 18 years old. That is a huge responsibility to ask even your own husband. So if anything, you should let Ralph come to that conclusion himself. For you to sit here and say, I've been bringing it up, I'm bringing up therapy, even your mom saying the same thing. Maybe I'm missing something, but that is not something that you should assume a person is gonna wanna do. That's something that you should let Ralph make the decision if he wants to, and be proud of it if he does. You're over here wanting him to adopt adopt a minor, y'all know that if you sign your name on the birth certificate of a child, even if you're not the father, you are financially what the state's going to come after for child support, right? Everybody knows that. So if Ralph were to adopt Josiah, if anything happens, he would be the one. Now, Ralph has made the comment that, hey, it's a man thing. You don't want to adopt another man's son. That is true as well. Is there a way that maybe Ralph can talk to Josiah's father and make sure he's okay with me basically letting your son know that I'm his father? I don't know what the issue is between Drew and Josiah's father or what happened. I don't remember the story because it's been a long time. I know she mentioned it in earlier seasons when she came. I just forgot. But putting that burden on Ralph in therapy session when y'all are supposed to be fixing the issues you already have. Now you're asking him to adopt another child. On top of that, when you guys are fixing issues you still have, your comprehension is off in that regard. Drew, you need to make some better decisions in life because what you're saying right now makes no sense to anybody who hears it. Then we have Sonia Sharee meeting up with Marlo at the furniture store. Marlo says that her house will be ready in 12 to 14 months. It's kind of like the same situation, custom house that Sharee built for Château Sharee and Kenya did for Moore Manor. My understanding is, I know that Sharee has kids, so Sharee can leave her house to her kids. I know that Kenya has her baby, so she can leave her house to her baby in the event something happens to her. Marlo doesn't have anyone, so who are you gonna leave this house that you're gonna put all your money into building to when you pass? Because at this point, I don't understand what you're doing. Are you doing it to show that you can do it as well? Because you're gonna build this big old house, this lavish house, and like I said, money doesn't get buried with you. So who are you gonna leave that down for? I'm accused. Are you going to leave it for an orphanage? I mean, what is the long-term plan right now for Marlo? She needs to say something because right now I'm like, you're building all this house and everything, but girl, you ain't got nobody to leave it to for now. Then we have Sheree and her discussing chandeliers, and Sheree saying that chandeliers in her house are between $40,000 to $70,000. She really put in that house. I said, okay, we'll spend it if you got it. Then Sheree mentions that she's having a pajama party sleepover because she wants to have all the girls over to kind of get her mind off of things and to enjoy herself. So she's inviting the ladies. She lets Marlo know that Kenya will be invited, and she lets Sonia know that Drew will be invited. Then Marlo decides to shade Kenya about drop it with Drew, saying that Kenya must be taking weight loss pills because she don't know what got into Kenya. She just saw different sides of Kenya, and then all the times that she fought with Kenya, she's never seen that. I said, then she says that Kenya has a case of CT because Kenya can't take her. Sonia lets Marlo know the truth. Kenya said if you're her friend, you shouldn't be doing all the stuff that you're doing and try to paint her as a bad person. If you're really her friend, you're supposed to be supportive, which is absolutely true. Marlo glazes over the facts and glazes over what actually makes sense so she can hold on to whatever negativity that she wants to hold on to about Kenya that doesn't exist to anybody but her. So she's sitting here running her mouth and having all this shit about Kenya. I'm looking at Marlo like, Marlo, you make absolutely no sense. You started this whole thing from the very beginning of this season. You keep talking shit. You keep saying little digs to Kenya, but when Kenya reacts to you, you're going to start crying. You're going to start saying Kenya is just a horrible person. You're going to be the victim in your situation when you're the one antagonizing her in every way, shape, or form. And you're still talking about her behind her back, and she didn't even do nothing to you. I'm still trying to figure out in this particular season what Kenya did to Marlo for Marlo, but there is nothing I can think about. So Marlo is just basically trying to find something to get mad about because she's unhappy about herself. So she's going to target Kenya. Hurt people. And that's what Marlo's going to be doing. I said it before. Marlo is not mature enough for this peach. Give it back. She's not ready. She's not mature enough. She can't handle it. She's just grasping at straws at this point and trying to figure out a storyline and targeting Kenya. Then Marlo lets us know that she got mad at her nephews and she told them to get the fuck out. And that she explains it as they had a laundry debacle where she took them to get their laundry done. Then they came back, the laundry was all over the floor. It was just mildewy. It's been sitting there for days. Then she talked about one of the kids punching the wall. And she said that she sent him to her sister, Crystal, who already had 3 small toddlers, to now take in 2 pre-teenagers and teenagers into her household. She didn't even consider the fact that 5 kids is a lot more to deal with than 3, especially when the age gap is so far off. So she told her sister to come get them, kicked them out, said, I don't know what you want to do with them, do something with them. I don't want them. This is what baffled me about the entire situation. Marlo has a foster care nonprofit organization for children who are not wanted by certain people and being kicked out left and right. She herself said that she has been to several foster care homes. She didn't even want to accept Candy's hand-me-downs because it wasn't good enough for her foster kids. Then she gets kids, her own blood relatives in her house. And the moment that it gets tough and hard, she kicks them out and says that it's because of her mental health. You can't see a therapist on a daily basis because you have the money while your nephews are still in the house. And then you guys maybe see a family therapist together. You had to just throw them out in its entirety because you're just done with them like a piece of trash. Sheree said something in her confessionals. I have never had to have a break from my kids. I wish there's been several times when I wanted a break, but you just can't do that if they're really your children. This is why I said that Marlo has no concept of what it's like to really be a parent. There are times going to be so hard you'd want to probably murder your own damn children. But parents who are real parents know that you have to be there the whole time. You have to go through it. Marlo, in her head, she says, I'm doing all these things. I'm spending money on them. I'm throwing money in their face. But when it comes to the emotional aspect and the strength of a mother that it takes to tolerate these kids in the worst times, especially when we know that they're reacting based on the experience they just had, you get sick of them and you throw them out and tell them you don't want them, basically get the hell out of there. That is what foster kids had to deal with, is people not wanting them. For someone who has such a strong opinion about this, you just did this. Number two. Number three, she fixed her mouth and told Kenya, remember years ago, if your mama don't even want you, somebody mama don't even want you, then that says a lot about you. But you just kicked out your own nephews who don't really have anybody, has been staying with you for 3 years, and told them that they need to be gone for 30 days. And Marlo, you're sitting here acting like you're the victim in the situation. I feel for Marlo. I do. I feel like she has every right to be overwhelmed. She has every right to be hurt. She has every right to feel like she needs the help and she's not getting it because it's very hard. But on the other hand, Marlo accepted that responsibility. She didn't sit up here and told us about her kids. She allowed them to be recorded on TV. She wanted us to see what she was doing as a Monty. And then you turn around and do something like this. Now you're going around telling the version of the story that makes people empathize with you and not think about the mental health of the kids who already have to deal with their mother going crazy behind bars. I don't feel sympathy for Marlo because I've seen how she's treated Kenya, who's actually doing well with her kid, considering the fact that she got to deal with Mark's craziness. I see how Marlo's behaving and it does not sit well with me. I don't know about y'all. Maybe some of y'all have a different opinion. It's okay. But I do know that what Marlo did may have added a fuel to the fire to what these kids are already going through. So Sanya, of course, is a kiss booty. So she's sitting here saying, you got to do what's best for you, and stuff like that. Sheree's in the confessional saying what I'm thinking. Child, we don't get breaks as parents. You don't get breaks as parents. I mean, you want one, but you don't get one. You do what you do and you deal with what it comes and you deal with the hard. You don't kick them out and tell them to get the hell out and tell your sister to take him, that you don't want to see them for 30 freaking days, girl. What are you doing? Then Sheree's pajama party gets here, and all the I call the pajama party with the nudes. Everybody shows up one by one. Fatum, before Drew shows up, lets everybody know that she did a background check on Drew and Ralph, and apparently they have so many aliases accompanying their name. Nobody knows who they are. So you got Kenya and Candy talking in the confessional saying, we know they have all this money, but where they're getting it from, as if they're doing something criminal act. We all know that we didn't know what Marlo was doing. We thought she was just selling her booty. But then we see that she has a nonprofit organization. She also has her business that she's doing with her, the wrong spelled archive. We see that she has other sources of income that she's doing. She also may be getting something from social media, from the advertisements and from the appearances that she does. They're probably paying her. Ralph and Drew was an actor, so it's possible they also invested in other things, but because their money is not as loud as Candy's, everybody's questioning them. And Fatum's little thirst bucket behind that really wants to be on the show did a background check on somebody she's never met. She doesn't really know anything about. She only met once. I feel like this girl wants to make sure she gets some camera time. So she went and did a background check, took a page out of Marriage to Medicine. And when Lisa over there and that one did a freaking background check on Quad. So she went and came over here, did a background check on them and came about talking about they have 12 different aliases and her friend was the one who did the background check. Girl, bye. You were an accomplice to that mess. And Drew shows up dressed exactly like Sharee. I said, well, y'all both look good. Then we have Sharee leading them to the paintings where they're going to do their paintings and they're going to show off their painting skills. And somebody says, well, we're going to be painting somebody new. She said, nude. Then you have somebody who's not Bolo, i.e. his equipment is not as well as endowed as Bolo's. Because, as endowed as Bolo was, Portia had to get a taste. But as this person that we saw that you had to do a new photo, according to Kenya, his wasn't that big. So they had to draw this ding-a-ling, and they had to draw this naked girl, and they all had to enjoy this nude interlude that they had to draw while drinking. And Lisa Wu shows up. Y'all remember Lisa Wu? She shows up, one of the veterans of Real Housewives of Atlanta when the show, series first started. She comes in. She's still friends with Sheree. I love seeing her. I always liked her energy. They come in. They're enjoying themselves and having fun. Then while they're drawing, Drew decides to bring up to Sanya for Sanya basically trying to throw a dig while she's at the same time asking Ralph for assistance or for advice about whether she should have a kid with her man. And Drew said, you know, when you were talking to him, you said something like, we're trying to figure out what you're still doing. Sanya's dumb self is going to get on the confessional and said, I really didn't mean any shade. Yes, you did, because you were giggling when you said it. You were being very shady. Sanya is exactly what Drew said. She is fake. I can't see. How many faces do you have? I'm still trying to keep up with Marlo's faces, and I got to figure out what you are? I'm so confused at this point because Sanya is trying to make it seem like Drew is just, she's gaslighting her basically. Drew's saying what you did was wrong. Instead of saying it, said, yeah, I probably took a dig I shouldn't have, I'm sorry. She's making it seem like what Drew is saying is far-fetched, as if what she perceived is wrong. Then she's going to say, if Ralph was trying to be cool, why would he tell you that? Because Ralph is my husband and he's going to address it with me, to have me address it with you because you're a female. He's not going to be arguing with you. So, of course, Sanya's like, I'm not going to do this here. I'm going to go away, as if she's the victim. I said, Drew, you need to drop this heifer. Don't stop talking to her. Stop talking to Sanya. She's just getting on my nerves. Her and Marlo are really pissing me off, okay? 2 peas in a pod. Then we have Marlo in the bathroom with Candy, telling Candy that she didn't kicked out her nephews, saying that she just needed time for herself and she's wanting sympathy. She's crying. She said that she was just not being herself. She's drinking so much. She hasn't been the person that she wants to be. She's over here lashing out at Kenya. She's feeling like it's because she's hurt. I said, I'm glad you know that because you're hurt. You're out here disrespecting people, but leave Kenya alone. And Candy's like, yo, you can't just kick out those kids. You don't know what the mental damage you did to them, telling them that they need to get the hell out. You don't want to be with them and you don't want them here. That's basically what foster kids go through. And you have a foster kid nonprofit. This doesn't make you look good. It doesn't make your business look good because you're supposed to be somebody who's understanding of that situation, and you just kicked them out because you were mad. After 3 years of taking care of them, instead of just seeking the help you need, you kicked them out completely and moved them from having a lavish lifestyle to your sister who may not be able to provide what you showed them. She's like, oh, it's because I need them to be grateful. They're kids who first had to adjust to living with you, their Monty. Then just recently they had to sit there and listen to their mother on the phone losing her mind because you exposed them to that. And then now you're expecting them to behave as if nothing's wrong when they haven't had the therapy help that they need. Then you kick them out to boot, telling them that they just need to get out, that you don't want them here, you don't need them here, don't like it's insane what you're doing. So when you're sitting here crying, I'm trying to empathize with Marlo so much. I'm trying to feel her pain. But then later on in this scene, she starts picking on Kenya. It's hard to empathize with somebody like that. It's hard to be, you know, oh, what about her? It's very, very hard to give to somebody who behaves like that. It's really difficult. Okay. Then the dinner talks. Yes, Queen and the people with a couple of drinks, they're sitting down. They're about to have their dinner talk. And while they're having their conversations and giving their affirmations, yes, Queen, no, Queen, all that, Drew says that she's looking to start over. And Kenya's looking at her like, you want to start over again? For the 3rd time, girl, we already been started over with you. We're done with the starting over. Now, at this point, Kenya had a few, right? Then Marlo, Drew, as she's talking, brings up the fact that Marlo said that she loves everybody. Marlo said, well, I can love everybody in God's way. That's a nice way of saying, I don't love you. You just say, oh, Jesus loves you, but I don't. Then she says, I love my enemies too. And then Drew, they asked Drew, Marlo says, well, you and Sanya fight all the time, but you still love her. Drew says, I love my enemies too, in reference to Sanya. Then Lisa Wu's joins the conversation to express how you can be sitting there waiting for an apology for somebody that's supposed to be your friend and they'll never apologize to you. You can be sitting here expecting somebody to give you something that's not within their spirit to give. So it's best not to waste your energy on them. While Lisa is giving very good information and giving very helpful therapeutic information, Sanya interrupts her. Now, because obviously they were just talking about her and it's about her. So she interrupts her. What irked me about the situation is Lisa was upset at Sanya for interrupting her, right? Y'all remember what Sanya said that she finally wanted to address the situation with Drew, and Drew kept talking over her when she was going from 1 to 1,000,000. And Sanya kept saying, you're going to have to stop interrupting me. You're going to have to stop interrupting me. Well, Sanya, now you're interrupting somebody else. So what is it? What is it? I feel like what I said is what I said. Sanya is using Drew for storyline, and that's the wrong one because she feels like Drew's easy to pick on. I don't think she can go in a game of words. I don't think she can go toe to toe with Marlo. I don't think she can go toe to toe with Kenya. She cannot go toe to toe with Sheree. And Candy will eat her up, even though Candy has a very monotone way of dealing with things. The only person that she felt she could pick on was Drew, and that's who she targeted. So now it's backfiring in your face, and now you feel some type of way because Lisa had to check her too. Then Kenya says she's had a few, but this needs to be addressed. She brings up the background check that Fatum did. And of course, Drew interrupts Kenya and said, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but is this a stalker type behavior? Why are you background checking me and my man? And she said, well, you came at me, so I'm going to come at you. I said, well, girl, you inserted yourself in a conversation that had everything to do with Sheree and Drew, had nothing to do with you. Fatum, you're in the wrong. You shouldn't say anything. And then Sheree said, well, she brought up what Anthony said. What Anthony said does not include her. That was an argument between Sheree and Drew. Fatum inserted herself, and now you're gonna go out there and make have your friend or whoever it is do a background check on her. Then they start making jokes that Danielle is Ralph's aliases, and Drew's like, everybody knows Danielle's my assistant, so don't sit up here and say that Danielle is Ralph's aliases. Then they're finding out that they're speculating as if all the other aliases that they have is Ralph's, like one of them he used when he left to Tampa and disappeared because they were having a fight. Did he take a different name? What was he doing while he was there? We still haven't gotten an answer till today. So I'm just like, Drew, poor girl, you keep going in situations, and even though you're in the right to be angry, you just can't defend yourself. You just don't know how. You don't know how to deal with these females. Every time you get in, somebody's always picking on you, child. You're gonna have to just get a tougher skin and learn how to handle yourself. And I want to know all these aliases. I want to know every single one of them, okay? Then we have the coochie incense. Okay, you got Fatum, who gets Sheree and tells her to go change so they can have her dance around this coochie incense to get all the bad spirits out of her area, to repel all. I was like, well, hell, maybe she does need the bad spirits to get out of her coochie, because she keeps repelling all the good men and attracting all the bad ones, aka Tyrone. So maybe this voodoo doctor thing would help her, maybe able to attract a good person down there. Maybe that's what's, all the spirits that's kind of covering it up. This cop was down there, don't want her to meet a good man. Maybe that's what it is. Freaking Drew is like, this is some voodoo stuff. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm not interested. Then Marlo's over there feeling some type of way because now her emotions are getting in. She's over there making jokes like, hey, that incense smells like something from a flea market. Girl, bye. Stop hating. Then we have Marlo and Kenya get into a full-blown argument because Kenya is feeling herself. She's like, I am the moment. I'm this, I'm that. Kenya is drunk, having the blast time of her life, talking about the moment is coming down. Marlo, again, is intimidated by Kenya, and I think she's very jealous of Kenya, so she started digging. I'm so glad you have self-esteem now. Well, Mark don't feel like you have self-esteem. I'm so glad after you dealt with Mark. She starts taking another dig. And of course, if Kenya turns around and starts reading Marlo for Phil, she's going to say, she's so mean. She's so this. I don't know why she keeps coming at me. I thought we were friends. But here you are, Kenya is leaving you alone and you're still picking on her. What did Kenya do to you? Why are you so threatened by Kenya Moore? Leave that girl alone. She done been through enough. So that was this episode. And that's how it went. So I would give this episode a good B+ to A-. It was there was enough tea and enough mess for me to enjoy myself watching it. So I enjoyed it. Let me know what y'all think about this review, and go ahead and check out my Married to Medicine review along with my P-Valley review as well. And then look forward to my Basketball Wives review as well. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.